Okay, let's try a few more examples. So here's number 4. Let's say you have 5 times the quantity of 3x minus 4. Right inside the parentheses, if you'll notice, there's a subtraction. So let's make a double sign change. And then you should also notice that there's a number next to parentheses, which means times, multiplication, and inside the parentheses is addition. So this is the distributive property of multiplication with respect to addition. And you take that 5 and you multiply it not only once, but twice. So that gives you 5 times 3x and plus 5 times negative 4. Okay, 5 times 3x, that's going to give you 15x. Here, let me show you why. Because you'll have a 3x, and another 3x, and another 3x, and another 3x, and another 3x. That's 5 of them being added together. Because when you multiply, that's just shortcut for adding over and over and over. So a 3x, and another 3x, and another 3x, and another 3x, and another, that's 5 times 3x. That's 15x. And then you'll also have 5 times negative 4, which is negative 20. And that's it. That's your answer. You can't add a 15 plus a negative 20. That's like trying to add French fries and hamburgers. They're two separate things. They're not like terms. All right, another example, number 5. Let's go with negative 8x minus 4, and then that's going to be multiplied by negative 2. Okay, believe it or not, this is the distributive property of multiplication with respect to addition. We're going to look inside parentheses, and we're going to make a double sign change. And so inside the parentheses you have addition, and then you have something right there next to it being multiplied. So you're going to take that negative 2 and you're going to distribute it. You're going to multiply it all the way through by each term. So negative 2 times negative 8x plus negative 2 times the negative 4. These first two, a negative times a negative is a positive, so that'll be 16x. And then the last two give you 8. And that's it. Some kids want to keep going and add those together. They're not like terms. That's like hamburgers and fries. And let's go with one more. Let's go with negative 2 times the quantity of negative 3x plus 5. Yep, that's the distributive property of multiplication with respect to addition. So you distribute the negative 2. You multiply it by each term inside the parentheses. Negative 2 times the negative 3x and the negative 2 times the 5. The first two, a negative times a negative, positive 6x. And here a negative times a positive would be a negative 10. And that's your that's your answer. Okay, now I'm going to give you a couple that you just need to be aware of. So maybe, I guess we could call them tricky ones. So beware. And the first one would be this. 3 times the quantity of 2x times 5. Okay, times 5. This is not a problem that you can use distributive property. So not a distributive property problem. Because the name of the property is called distributive property of multiplication with respect to addition. There's multiplication, but there's no addition. So here you just follow the order of operations. So you'd start right here inside the parentheses. And 2x times 5. 2x times 5. That means there's a 2x, another 2x, and another 2x 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different times. That adds up to 10x. So this gives me 10x inside the parentheses. And then that's multiplied by 3, so that means you're going to have a 10x, and another 10x, and another 10x, 3 different times. That's 30x. So the final answer to this is 30x. So beware, sometimes you're not supposed to use the distributive property. The next tricky one, not really so tricky, but sometimes you distribute more than once, which is kind of like my first example of hamburger and fries and a Coke. So you make a double sign change, and there's multiplication, and you're going to distribute it 3 times because there are 3 terms there being added. So you'll have a 5 times a 6x, and a 5 multiplied by 3y, and a 5 times a negative 10. Right here I'll have 30x. This gives me 15y, and then negative 50. The last one that you need to be aware of is an example that looks like this. Alright, that's the distributive property of multiplication. With respect to addition, we're multiplying here and there's addition inside, so you distribute the multiplication. And that would be x times x and x times 5. And right here, this is where some kids goof. X times x multiplied to itself, that gives you x to the 2nd power. And then x times 5, a better way to write x times 5 is 5x. And that right there would be your answer. So beware, some kids mix this up. X times x is different than x plus x. So when you have an x times an x, that's what the 2nd power means. You multiply it to itself. When you have an x plus an x, that's like 1x plus 1x, and that gives you 2x. So heads up on these 2 different type problems. All right, good luck. I hope this helps with your homework.